Welcome in to DNVR Buffs After Dark. I'm Henry. That's Ryan. What do you even say about that game? Basically, what happened was what we expected to happen, and it still wasn't any fun. Even though you can even say, Vegas said that they shouldn't have been that close.
Yeah, but it definitely wasn't as close as the score line would suggest. And I didn't expect to be upset about this game. I'm a little more upset than I thought I would be, despite losing to Utah by 15 points, which is respectable. But I have a lot of issues with the way it went down, and I think that coaching held them back today. I think it hurt them more than it helped them, and that's a problem. It's a big problem.
Yeah, the things that went well in that game were players making plays.
Yes, exactly.
Right? It's Deion Smith with that run around the edge where he
cuts back,
stiff arms the guy after he breaks another tackle and turns it into a positive gain. And it's just things like that really made anything work. Some great plays by his defensive linemen. But
best offensive play of the day is a free play where Dimitri Stanley makes a nice adjustment to the ball. You have a first and 10 from the 15 after a sweet interception, and you get 0 yards and kick a field goal. And of course, don't get it twisted. They end up scoring 13 points. That is not 13 offensive points.
No, it is not.
That is 6 offensive points. An incredible return.
Which could have been 9.
Could have been 9. Incredible return from Nico Reed. Again, that's just a player making a play. And I think at one point they just said, we have so little offense that we might as well try to return these and give ourselves a chance to score, and it worked out. I just... obviously we go biggest takeaways first, so I can't wait much longer before I get this off my chest. Karl Dorrell punting on 4th and 13 in a miraculously 2-score game is infuriating to me, Henry. And I am of the belief that it wasn't really a football decision. It was a optics decision because it's the last game of the season. And the further we get away from this, the further you can say, hey, look, we played Texas A&M close when they were ranked number, 4 in the country. We played Utah close when they were ranked. And then Oregon was the other ranked team we played. And, we actually had a decent performance that day on offense, scoring 29 points. I really felt like that was, hey, let's lose by 2 scores instead of 3 scores and get out of here and be able to say that we competed with the best teams we played this year.
Yeah, and I disagree that that's what the thought process was.
What do you think it was?
I think it was just a bad decision. I think that he looked at it and said 6 minutes, we can get the ball back. We've got 3 timeouts. Our offense isn't going to be able to go the length of the field. We probably need to get lucky with a turnover or something fluky like that to have a chance anyway. And I think that that's the wrong decision, but I don't think that he did it just for
optics.
Yeah.
If that's the case, it's only a little bit less bad, in my opinion.
I could argue that it was worse, honestly.
Yeah. How out of touch you have to be to believe that team who was giving up, what was the yards per carry?
Oh, boy. I had avoided looking at these stats. It wasn't good, I can tell you that. That was Colorado, 32 for 64.
Good.
Utah,
2.
45 for 265. That's 5.9 per carry.
So you're giving up 6 yards per carry.
Yep.
You haven't stopped anything all night.
Nope.
And you think that you can get the ball back, not just at some point. You think you can get it back quickly.
3 stops. What's that? 40 times 3? You lose 120 seconds, 2 minutes off the clock. You get back with 4 minutes.
In a best case scenario, the only way that game was going to be close, the only way that game you had a chance in that game was to get lucky on that 4th and 13. Convert that and go score a touchdown there, and then you have pressure on Utah. Maybe something fluky happens.
You do.
To me, it was cowardly. It's really the only word I can use to describe it. You aren't, in my opinion, you're not trying when you punt the ball there.
Yeah, I think that that's fair. And again, just to play devil's advocate, if you're also sitting there saying, quarterback probably has to double his total passing yards on the day on this drive just to get it within one score.
And then you got to do it again.
Like, it's not like that option sounds all that good either.
No options were good.
No.
And that's why I just think, how do you not just try?
Honestly,
speaking of how do you not try, and speaking of optic decisions, Brendon Lewis, what are you doing, man? This is the second time on 4th and long.
Bad.
You're just throwing the ball out of bounds. Like, the only possible thinking could be I don't want to throw an interception and hurt my stats on the season.
I mean, and football-wise, the only thing that could go wrong is you throw the interception and they return it for a touchdown instead of getting it there. But again, like that, the cost, value, all that stuff, it doesn't matter. You lose either way.
Yes, in fact, if they intercept it, it's better because it's further down the field.
Probably
if you make the play down there. To me, it's just like the football IQ on the decision from Karl Dorrell and on the decision from Brendon Lewis there is really low. And I've been high on some of the coaching jobs that Karl Dorrell has done from Sunday to Friday. But the Saturday coaching has been, and I guess today is also Friday, has been so lackluster, leaving so much to be desired. And upsets are made by doing unexpected things. And if you think that you're just going to be able to play regular sound football and beat Utah, you're just wrong.
Yep. And I think lackluster is the right word, because I have a lot of thoughts about game day coaching decisions. And the main one is that I think 80% of fan bases, maybe even more, say this coach sucks on game days. They're always making the wrong decisions. And that's because all the coaches are always screwing that up. And I don't think that Karl Dorrell is like remarkably behind the pack when it comes to college football coaching decision making.
It's fair.
But it's lackluster.
Yeah.
You're looking for ways to gain an edge, and that certainly is not a way you gain an edge. And just getting back to like that 4th and 13 punt, it feels like it's just prolonging the inevitable.
Yes.
Like by punting, you're saying, hey, there's 4 minutes. It's a 2-score game.
6 minutes.
Yeah. You could potentially get back with like four and a half minutes. It's a 6-point game. There's a world where you can make it work. You can pull a turnover or something that could change some things. Maybe their coach makes a bad decision. Maybe they throw the ball and you think of all that and say, if we don't pick up a 4th and 13, the game is over. And when that is one of the options, you say, if we don't get this, the game is over. It's really tough to take that option when you know that. I mean, how many plays do they have all day that went for 13 yards? They had 2 runs and 2 passes that went for 13 or more yards. And so when you have that, it's tough to get past it, but it's still the wrong decision. You still got it. It's do or die time.
And so again,
they died.
And I want to be clear here. Most of my anger after this one is directed at the coaching staff, and of course part of that is Darren Chiaverini, who has to have coached his last game as the offensive coordinator at CU. I don't know if it almost never happens. I don't want anyone I don't know if they would getting their hopes up that he would accept a demotion down to wide receivers coach.
You just don't see it.
You never see it, but he's absolutely has to have coached his last game as the offensive coordinator for Colorado. And there was nothing good to speak of this season from him and from on a play calling on Saturday situation. And today was especially bad. There was no counters to anything that Utah was doing. They're crashing the edges hard. You have to stop trying to run bootlegs. They're sitting on that. I don't know if Brendon Lewis got the edge and was able to complete a pass on a single one of those. And then there's no when you see those defensive tendencies, any good offensive coordinator looks at that and says, okay, well, here's what I can do to counter. I can run a screen over that, over their head. I can, get the running back out of the backfield and swing it out to them out there. So many different things. And then again, I've complained about this after every game, lack of shots downfield. You don't actually need that much time to throw a 9 route. You need a little bit more than you would for a slant. But get yourself back there and let it
way
fly.
Up in the air.
And they didn't do that. They did it once or twice today. One of them was the free play. Another one, Daniel Arias almost has in the end zone. The closest they got to scoring a touchdown on offense all day. So that's the other thing. My final take. Well, do you have anything you want to say about the offensive play calling?
I mean, with Chiaverini, they came into the day third from the bottom in all of FBS football in yards per game. And there's just a thing that
Fourth
happens.
game with under 200 yards of offense this
they
season.
barely they went just over half of their standard offensive output today. So who knows where they'll be at this point. But there's just a thing that happens to offensive coordinators who finish in the bottom 3 in yards per game, and that's that they are not the offensive coordinator again next year. So, I mean, maybe there's some world where Karl Dorrell makes a bunch of excuses and says the offensive line really was bad for a lot of the season. You know, in this game, you don't have however many, 3 of your top 4 receivers. You're missing Jarek Broussard, reigning offensive player of the year. You have a freshman quarterback. So maybe he does go through all those excuses and say, it's worth another try. I would be shocked.
There's just no way.
I just don't see how that could happen.
And if you're Karl Dorrell, here's where you can show your chops, man.
Exactly.
Go get someone respectable to coach your offense.
Yeah.
And again, you know, Darren Chiaverini, great buff. A lot of love for him.
First ever Buffalo Heart Award winner.
Yes, he loves to share that fact.
I actually never heard. I was like, oh, no way, that's cool. Kind of dug in.
He, you know, again, great buff, a lot of heart, a lot of love for the program, and I have love back for him, but he's in over his head at this position, and that's okay. That just happens.
Yep.
It's not everyone that is a good position coach is cut out to be a coordinator. Not everyone that's a good coordinator is cut out to be a head coach, and so on and so forth. He's a really good wide receivers coach. He'll probably go end up being a wide receivers coach for another program and do a good job at that. So again, you know, I don't want to pile on him too much because I do have respect for him. At the same time, a lot of people talking about how hard the guys played today, and that is my final takeaway. Those guys played their asses off.
They did.
And I have so much respect for the players who had everything going against them today, and really, like, there was no lack of effort.
None.
You know, watching the Broncos every Sunday, we've complained about effort quite a few times from different guys. You know, of course, most notably Teddy Bridgewater on that return. You have nothing. I have nothing like that to say today.
No.
There's nowhere where I saw that guy didn't try hard enough.
There were mistakes. There were big holes up the middle, but it wasn't an effort thing.
Except for, I guess, Brendon Lewis throwing away on 4th down. That's not exactly trying. But
for sure.
those guys played so hard, and that's
Yep.
why I'm so disappointed in the coaching staff for not giving them a better chance to win.
Yep. And one last thing on Darren Chiaverini, because, again, we've been hard on him for months because of the results. But if, you know, he comes from Texas Tech. If he is calling the same plays the same way at Texas Tech, you're not bottom 3 in the country.
No.
You know, you're probably not quite middle of the pack, but he was dealt a tough hand.
Totally.
And the problems with the rest of the team, everything he had to deal with, it just kind of exacerbated his mistakes.
Yes.
In a way that you wind up this far down. And when you're this far down, you just can't really make any sort of excuse.
And I don't know if there was really a lot they could have done today.
No.
Like Brendon Lewis, I don't know if he ever had more than 2.5 seconds to throw the ball. And again, that makes your life really difficult. But again, you weren't able to do anything. Like, it's not as if there were 0 plays available against this Utah defense. There's stuff there. You weren't able to make it. And you're right. Darren Chiaverini gets dealt a quarterback who really for the first half of the season didn't know what he was doing. And so for that I can forgive, but it's not as if he had a great body of work coming into the season.
No. Like, there's just nothing that there's just nothing you point to and say, that's why.
Right.
That's why we're going to take another chance.
Yeah. So to me, again, this is where Karl Dorrell can say, hey, look, I've got all these connections. I can bring in someone here who can coach a damn good offense. And I actually believe that he can.
For sure.
There's just one step that you have to do to get there, which is let go of Darren Chiaverini. It's, you know, by all accounts, it wasn't necessarily the guy he wanted in the first place. Or not. It wasn't his idea. It was the idea brought to him, hey, what do you think of this? And he rolled with it at best.
At best.
And so now, again, go prove, here's why I'm here. Here's why I can do this. I'm going to bring in, you know, who knows? But there's NFL coaches who are going to be looking for jobs after this year. Maybe you come in and grab one of those guys. Maybe you go get a guy from a lower level college running a better system. I don't know if he Karl Dorrell doesn't strike me as a guy who's going to go air raid. No. But figure something out here.
Yeah, figure something out. And honestly, I don't think it's going to be somebody from the college ranks. I think that probably is somebody from the pros. I think you're looking for somebody who's a quarterback's coach or something like that on a decent offense, somewhere he has ties. And I don't know who exactly that is, and we'll spend some time going through that. But you look through, I mean, he's, Brian Daboll's the name you look at. You go to him. Who's his recommendation? Who on his staff?
Right.
And there's got to be somebody, and I think that's what it's going to end up being. It's going to be a position coach on the offensive side, probably quarterbacks, maybe receivers. Who knows? Maybe running backs. Maybe they have some, or offensive line even.
And Darren Chiaverini's best quality, the thing that he did the best during his time here is recruit. But when he became the offensive coordinator,
There's just no time.
He's given less time to recruit. And so that's the other thing, try to get someone in here. And obviously you might, you're going to have to replace a couple coaches on the offense. Double down on recruiting. Get some young guys in here that are, ready to go hit the road, because that's one fear I have about going the NFL route is those guys aren't exactly going to be the best recruiters.
For sure.
But again, your offensive coordinator, exactly. Your offensive coordinator doesn't do a lot of recruiting, so get the recruiting at another position. Maybe it's wide receivers coach.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though, is that, if the way the staff works, they're at their coaching limit. And so if you do remove Darren Chiaverini, all of a sudden you have a hole at receivers coach, you have a hole at offensive coordinator, and you get to bring in one coach. And so it's that crossover position unless you move somebody else out, which is what we saw last year, actually, when what did happen? Because you had Tyson Summers coaching the linebackers, Mark Smith goes to replace him at linebackers, and you promote Chris Wilson. So that's how they manage it. So there could be some moving parts here. But again, you look through the coaching staff, it's tough to say, like, who offensively disappointed. When you look through, say quarterback's coach, you can say the quarterback's absolutely disappointed, but you also saw growth from a true freshman quarterback.
Yep.
And that's why from the outside, we just don't have the details that Karl Dorrell does, being on the ground, seeing every day, was the growth because of or in spite of, or all those different things. You can go through the positions. Offensive line coach, I guess, is the big question mark.
Yeah, that's one that you got to get figured out. Maybe you do stick with Vlahos, who obviously was an improvement.
Today wasn't great.
But today, the last couple games haven't been great.
They haven't.
And again, it's up to Karl to determine, is this a talent issue? If it is, how do we address that?
Yep.
Or is it a coaching issue? And who can we get and who do we need to replace?
Or a scheme issue too, because we know that he wants to run something else, which is again that Daboll Bills type of thing where he got Vlahos, and so they have that background, and you just can't make those big changes that early on. And so do they go and just say, what, this time we get a whole off season to change up all the terminology, go back to what we were doing before? So it'll be interesting.
Avs are down 2-0, 90 seconds into the game.
Yeah, I'm going to make a live bet here in a second.
There you go.
Hey, why don't we use that as an opportunity to bring up our good friends, DraftKings Sportsbook? So here's what I'm going to do right now, and if you guys also want to make some money, you're going to do it too. Here's the reason we're doing this. So the Dallas Stars are up 2-0. It took them a minute and a half to do that. Meanwhile,
good news is that means there's 58 and a half minutes left, right?
So many minutes. And the Avalanche have scored 36 goals in the last 6 games. Now, at some point, they're going to stop putting up 6 goals per game. I'm betting that it doesn't happen tonight. Avalanche plus 255. That means throw one unit on. We get
before they get it right
35.5. Log into place bet. I thought this would be a little bit quicker, but there we go. Now I am in, and my $10. Oh, there's the number. We usually don't say numbers. We're just talking about that. $10 turns into $35 if they pull it out.
There you go. And if not, oh well.
Oh well, it's $10. At least I'm done losing money on the Buffs this year. Actually, they did cover today, which is nice. But DraftKings Sportsbook. They're a great partner of ours. We really appreciate all the things that they do for us, and mostly we just like betting with them. It's a lot of fun. I'm really excited on Sunday to get back to it, these live drive bets. And if you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use the promo code DNVR, you can bet $1 on any team to score, win $100 in free bets. If they score, you score with promo code DNVR this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only, new customers only, restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Nice.
And we're back. So Also, Hassel Cattle Company. Maybe you guys were smart and decided not to have turkey for Thanksgiving because turkey is very bland and very dry and flavorless.
You seem like a guy who would like turkey.
Not what I'm talking about. Hassel Cattle Company. I mean, think about turkeys as a vehicle, right? Like it's one day a year. It's a meal about gravy and stuffing and cranberry sauce.
Right.
Like cranberry sauce is not meant to be eaten with a spoon. It's meant to be put on the turkey to give it the flavor. It's the palette for the paint. No, wait. It's the canvas for the paint. In the same way that, carrots are just
Ranch spoons.
Ranch spoons, exactly. You got all sorts of foods like this. It's one day a year you embrace turkey. But in case you want meat that tastes good instead of the turkey, hey, that's your call.
Doesn't need any cranberry sauce or stuffing.
Nope. I do like the stuffing. But you can go to Hassel Cattle Company. They've got Wagyu beef. They're a 4th-generation cattle farm out of Texas. They just restocked their boxes according to Dr. Nighthawk now.
Yes.
Congrats on being a doctor. I don't think I've said that yet. That's fairly new.
Hell yeah, Dr. Nighthawk.
Best bang for your buck. Definitely get in on that. It's Wagyu beef. It's blue-collar beef, which means any man or woman can afford it. Treat yourself. It's the holiday season. You know what? You can argue about beef on Thanksgiving. Beef for Christmas, that's just great.
Oh, yeah. My family always does tenderloin for Christmas.
I like some prime rib.
Ooh, that sounds great as well.
I know. That's also beef. I was 95% sure, but then I was like, wait. Yeah, we can move along.
We're a prime rib on Christmas, family. It's the best.
Prime rib on Christmas. That's the rule. Go to Hassel Cattle Company. They've got all sorts of products. And you can use the code DNVR15, get 15% off your entire purchase. I think you get free shipping with that, too. It's a great deal. Check them out. That's Hassel Cattle Company. Okay. We were going to do the blame game here just because we're going to pass the blame out. I think we have that covered.
Blame has been doled.
It sure has.
There's no more blame to go around.
No.
It's all been given out.
So let's go to the pain game.
Oh, lovely.
This is actually going to hurt even worse than that last part. For those of you who are new here, if you are new here, I should say, get over to the YouTube. Watch this on YouTube because it's better quality, all that sort of stuff. And you can comment and we can see your comments. We want to hear what you guys think about this because the way this game works is we're going to bring up some different things that happen in the game, some different stats from the game, just things about the game. We're going to rate them on a 1 to 10 scale, basically saying how much did that hurt you. And again, a 1 is like maybe you're walking down the street and you
catch your foot on the sidewalk a little bit.
Oh yeah, and you're just like, we'll stumble there. And you're like, I didn't like it. It didn't really hurt. A 10 though. A 10 is like if you're walking down the street and you just get hit by a truck.
Oh, okay.
Except not going too fast. You stay alive.
Oh, okay.
So you have to feel it. But yeah, so 1 to 10 scale like that. Let's real quick. We've talked about this a lot. The punt on 4th and 13. 1 to 10. How much did that hurt you?
I was prepared to have all zeros across the board coming into this game.
You are very numb this season.
Yeah, I am. I spent so much Novocaine. That was like an 8.7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't like that one.
I didn't get hit by the truck. It just like ran over my foot. My foot's shattered in a million pieces.
Wow. I'll give it like a 6. Again, the game was mostly over.
It was.
I had resigned myself.
And I wasn't ever expecting to win.
I know you weren't.
I just want to see them try.
It was crazy, like even on Twitter, where it's like I said something like, "Oh, Buffs get the field goal before halftime. It's 14-6. Buffs are right in it." And people are responding like,
"No, they are."
It's like it's a 1-score game and they get the ball out of half. This is the definition of in it. But that's just where we're at this point.
Yeah,
and I think Utah plays a part there too. Just that recent history. I think there's a fear. I think there's a fear of Utah. A very real fear.
Absolutely. They just push us around every time.
Yeah.
Like, remember that snow game a couple years ago? Were you around for that one?
I was.
And it was like, the snow, like, it's going to slow down the game. And somehow, like, it slowed us down to a halt. And Utah is just, like, running all around, tossing the rock.
It's just, they got to get something figured out in that game. But how about the 4th down where Brendon Lewis threw it away? It's
like a 5. Like, the game's over. It doesn't really matter, but it's just, like, it's so frustrating.
I know.
And that's the same thing with with that fourth down, maybe that's why Karl Dorrell didn't want to go for it, because he just thought, oh, Brendon's just going to run to the edge and throw it away anyway.
I know. And that's what makes it so tough to grade for me, is that I think you actually said it. It's like, don't throw the ball away before the play happens.
I did.
And I was thinking it. I think we're all thinking it because it's a fourth down. We remember what happened against UCLA when he threw the ball away. And so I don't know if like going into it and thinking, he's not really going to do this.
Yep.
And then he rolls out to the sideline and you're like, oh no, this is his move. This is what this looks like. This is what's happening.
I'm like, just uncork one, Brendon. Please throw it 50 yards down the field to no one. I don't care. Just keep it in the field of play.
I know. And so I don't know whether that hurt me more or less. Honestly, I laughed a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to say because of that, I'm going to give it a 4. Going pretty low today.
That was the end for me, by the way. I just walked out.
Yep. He did.
Couldn't handle it anymore.
Went down the stairs.
I want to bring this one up just to make sure, because to me it's the second most painful thing of the game, other than Karl Dorrell punting.
Okay.
It's you return the touchdown to go down just 1, and then Utah takes, I believe, 2.5 minutes off the clock to once again go up by 8. That to me was 7, because again. I said it after the punt or after the kick return touchdown. I'm like, why do they do this? Why do they do this to me? Now I believe, and I knew in the back of my head like it's something terrible is going to happen very quickly.
Yeah, and that's where we're like, or I at that point was thinking like, yeah, it's a 1-point game, even if it is an 8-point game, like still so much time. Like there's fluky things happen. Plus, who knows? Maybe they can hit on a deep pass. Maybe whatever. I thought that the Buffs had probably more of a chance in this game than, according to Twitter, just about anybody. But that's where, for me, I was like, oh, yeah, so here it is, and now everybody's joining me. Everybody's like, yeah. And it's like, yeah, guys, it's not that bad. And then they go down and do that, and it's like, no, I was wrong. Everybody else was right.
Yeah.
And, that was probably a 9 for me. I mean, it's not when the game ended, but that was, again, it's 1 or 2 times where, top 2 moments where you say this is probably it.
And on that drive, I'm trying to remember if there was a long pass, but I'm pretty sure it was mostly just long. Oh, it was that when they had the little wheel route to the tight end. Might have been. But to me, I felt like coming into that drive, if I'm calling the defense, I'm saying we are making Rising beat us with his arm because he hasn't been doing it today. And I think they had 3 runs on that drive of 15, 20 yards. And every time it's a light box, 6-man box, maybe 7 with 1 on the opposite edge where it's just like, okay, well, they're just going to run away from that guy. And that was really frustrating for me today too. I felt like they didn't commit enough resources to the run to force Rising to beat them with his arm. What did he throw? 17 passes?
1 sec. Let's hit this real quick first.
Okay.
So Britton Covey returned the punt 29 yards to the 32. Then they run for 6. They run for 13. They pass for 11. They run for 8. They pass for 16. They run for 2, and then 12-yard touchdown run. Just really no wins in there. 1 win. You got him to 2nd and 4, and you got him to 2nd and 2. And then I guess at the end you got him to 2nd and 8, and that was a touchdown. Like there was just no resistance. And again, it was just kind of empty in the middle of the field. And I think you brought that up during the game a little bit. Just like, why is there one linebacker?
Yeah.
The answer is because usually that one linebacker is Nate Landman.
Right.
And so you have Nate going everywhere. He covers it all up. Yeah, but it's not Nate. And it doesn't work. And probably should have made a change sooner, but yeah, it was ugly. And to get to the quarterback.
So 23 passes, 179 yards, 14 completions. I just felt like you needed to try to make him throw the ball more.
Yeah.
And again, if you go watch us talking on bets in the pregame, I wasn't expecting the Buffs to be able to stop the run. I just feel like you got to commit heavy resources to try
make them pass.
And just make them pass.
Weird things happen when you pass the ball.
They had both of their running backs go over 100 yards.
Yep.
5.7 for Thomas, 7.9 for Pledger. Those are just like those are numbers that you see when you play an FCS school.
It's true.
And you'd be happy about those numbers against an FCS school.
How do those numbers make you feel? Those 2 running backs and their rushing lines. 25, 142 and a touchdown, 13 for 103.
That's a 4, only because I just knew I saw it coming.
2 going for 100 yards.
Yeah, I told you before the game, there's no way the Buffs have what it takes from the linebacker position. No disrespect to Quinn Perry or Robert Barnes, but those guys just aren't like guys that can stop Utah's big ol' offensive line from running all over them multiple times today where the fit didn't fit right, and you know, it happens all over again, and it's just like, oh, it's tough to watch. So
and there are other guys who were making plays. You know, the defensive line, not consistently. They definitely got pushed around a little bit, but they got into the backfield and made some plays.
Terrence Lang had one.
Yeah, Terrence Lang had tackle for loss. You had Sami with the tackle for loss. Naeem Rodman had tackle for loss. You had the outside linebackers. Carson Wells was making plays out there. Devin Grant had 2 tackles for loss. There were plays that were happening, but just seemed like as soon as the running backs got past that first level, they were just off and running until one of the corners could track them down.
I don't know what is wrong with this Avs team, dude. They're getting bombarded.
It's hockey. They'll wake up. Yeah, what else in here? Let's 9 for 23, 84 yards. 1 to 10. How does that make you feel for Brendon Lewis?
It just felt like a step in the wrong direction. That's why it's probably a 5 or 6.
Yeah.
It's frustrating when you start to get a little hope for him. And I was thinking, like, man, if he can go just have himself a game today, it'll go a long way in towards making people feel better. And again, I wasn't expecting him to throw for 400 yards. I'm like, if he can go, 19 of 27 for 225 yards and 2 touchdowns, like, that's like, wow, look at how far he came. This looked like, the Minnesota game or one of those games from the early season where he snaps the ball, he runs out of the pocket, he throws it away.
How much – so he obviously struggled. How much of those struggles do you put on him? How much on the offensive line?
70-30 on the line.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's right. I mean, it was just all day.
And again, it's so easy for me to sit here and say, hang in there in the pocket. And this dude is just getting his world turned upside down every single time he stays in the pocket. And to his credit, he did, probably 6 of those completions he got hit on. Yeah.
And it's not like these are the USC guys either.
No.
Like, these are big linemen hitting him right in the teeth. Devin Lloyd could have taken him out of the game.
Yeah.
I think there's probably at least 20% of quarterbacks after that hit in the first quarter, they're done for the day.
Yeah. And
he's a first-round draft pick, by the way.
You can probably make the argument that he should have been done for the day. Just based on the way he got up and was kind of moving around after that.
Yep.
But again, this is to me, it's on the staff that they didn't have a single other quarterback that they felt comfortable with putting in any game this year after. Why do I keep blanking on Trout? After Trout went down, they didn't have anyone other. So it was just Brendon Lewis or bust. Like, how if they didn't believe in Drew Carter, and I have heard some stuff of like they felt like they set Brendon back by playing him before he was ready, and they didn't want to do that to another quarterback, and maybe that's true, but like. Were the Buffs lucky that Brendon Lewis was healthy the whole season? What would it have looked like if they didn't have him?
Who knows? But my one thing there, though, is that so Sam Neuer transfers after spring ball. So it's mid-May. I think it was mid-May he transfers. Do you just go to the portal right then and see if you can find somebody? Because I don't know who you're even able to add. When Trout got hurt, they went and got Mott, but he was D3, University of Chicago. I don't know who even was out there to fix that.
I mean, if Sam Neuer's out there at that time, there's other guys that are like Sam Neuer. Well, do you think? And this is an interesting thing. Where does this team go? Let's just say Trout was better than Neuer.
He definitely
than Neuer was last year. Does this team win another game? Because their wins, their wins were their wins. Their losses. The only, I guess you could say the Texas A&M game is the one where you say if they had competent quarterback play in that game, they probably win. So it's a 5-win team. I don't see, again, football games don't work like this where you can just like go back and change one thing, but I don't see a lot of opportunity where you could say, oh, this game would have been different if they had better quarterback play. A lot of the losses, they just got manhandled, and the quarterback was a big part of it.
It's tough because even that Texas A&M game, you say, okay, how much of an upgrade does he really need to be to make up a 3-point gap? How much better? Probably not that much better.
Like 3 throws.
But then you look at it and say, well, Brendon Lewis did run for 76 yards. And there was a point in the game where his legs were kind of what was keeping things going. And if you lose that, but you add
Keeping
whatever.
things going was to the tune of 7 points.
Didn't turn the ball. Oh, he did turn the ball over. There was that first drive or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's just so tough to go back and say what would have happened. But
it's one.
Things would be different.
To me, it's one win, and maybe there's just a different game where you get out to an early lead. So
yeah,
that's the crazy part about this team is they weren't necessarily as bad as they felt, and I think a lot of that has to do with the quarterback and offensive line being so bad.
For sure, I totally agree. Again, 4-8 is never good, but it's easy to get lost in the fact that they're 4-8 when they won 2 of their last 4. So at one point you're sitting there saying they're 2-6. A couple games before that they're 1-4, and so you're always behind the 8 ball. There was never a point in the season where you're like, oh, okay, if they can just turn it around. Turning it around would have meant closing out the season by beating Oregon State, UCLA, Washington, and Utah. And that's just not on the table. It's something we talked about with the Broncos. They didn't win a game in September for 3 years, and so you just feel like nothing matters for 3 months plus out of those seasons. And it's the same thing here. And, we talked about this earlier too, but there's a big, big difference between 4-8 and 5-7.
There's also a big difference between 3-9 and 4-8.
Yeah.
I would say. 4-8 feels like, okay, you were just bad that year. 3-9 is like you were terrible. Anything worse than that is you were awful.
5-7's like, you were close. You're an average team. But you won about half your games. No, they weren't.
I think 4-8. I think 4-8's honestly a win for them. As crazy as it may sound,
Vegas said 3.5.
Right. So, over the expectation.
Beat Vegas.
Yeah. It's disappointing that that's where this ended up, but I really do think they ended up in their with what they had. I think that 4 wins was probably their best case scenario, with that annoying A&M game being the one that you feel like, man, they maybe could have stole one there, and this whole season could have been different if they did.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible.
They don't lose 30-0 to Minnesota the next week if they beat A&M. They might still lose the game, but I don't think they lose 30-0.
Maybe. It's just so tough to say. Was there really a hangover from that game?
I think it was like an emotional hangover.
Potentially. Yeah. Okay. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you guys about a couple of our friends. While I do that, I want to hear your helmet stickers in the chat, because that's how we're going to wrap things up. Just close things out on a positive note like we do.
Season-long helmet stickers, or...
Ooh.
You want to save that one
Let's
for
save
a
that.
later show. Okay.
Can't be doing that with a 10-month off season.
Fair.
So yeah, throw your helmet stickers in the chat. We'll get to ours in a second. First of all, Ball. We love Ball because they support the Avs and the Nuggets. They've all of a sudden just become a part of my life. It's like everywhere I go, it's Ball this, it's Ball that.
Big Ball guy.
Every time I see a can, every time I see recycling, I think of Ball and aluminum, and I'm like, 75% of all aluminum is still in circulation. Ball has become such a huge part of my life, and if you've been watching the show, you've been listening to the podcast, you've probably been thinking about Ball a lot too. They really do great work. They make 100 billion cans or something like that. Just absurd. And if you want to work for them, you should do that, because they have a plant here in Golden, and they have all sorts of acknowledgments from, for example, the Human Rights Campaign gives them a 100% corporate equity score. And, we got to trust the Human Rights Campaign. So definitely get in on that. And if you're looking for a job, text Golden to 77222. You'll get linked to open positions. You can also go directly to jobs.ball.com and search for Golden. That's jobs.ball.com and search for Golden, or simply text Golden to 77222. And also, Saturday Neon. We have a couple of their signs. We got one good one really bad one. I shouldn't say that during the ad read. It's a CSU.
It's a good looking CSU sign, if there was such a thing.
Wow. We gotta get a recording of that. We're gonna cut the if there is such a thing, but
okay, that's fine.
That's a thing you said. They're great signs, and they're like the neon signs. You can get different sizes, and they're great gifts.
I would be stoked to get one of those as a gift.
I'm sure. I don't need Colorado. I'm not a big Colorado guy. If there was a big Grizz one, I'm not sure they have a Grizz one, just because
It's an FCS.
I would be the only one who'd buy it. But they really are cool. And it's a company started by 2 Buff alums. They're based in Denver. They'll give you free shipping. And if you use the code DNVR, you get 10% off. It's a great Christmas gift, so definitely check that out. All right, time for helmet stickers. And we've got to start off with our DraftKings king of the game.
Hell yeah.
Nico Reed.
Reed. He's so good.
Nobody took a picture.
So good that
All
no
season.
one's ever taken a picture of him. But he got the king of the game today. And to me, maybe the bright spot of the last 2 weeks. Obviously, you're going to win last week, so that's a plenty big bright spot. But you bring in a freshman, and he balls out over the last 2 games of the season. That's something you can hang your hat on next year. Like, I guarantee you, when you're doing your season preview podcast next season, you're going to be talking about Nico Reed and saying, hey, man, he played admirably at the end of the season. And obviously, he was electric on that kick return. Maybe he probably, I don't know if he takes that job from Brendan Rice next year. I wouldn't be surprised just because.
Injury risk?
Brendan Rice, exactly. You don't want to get Brendan Rice hurt. You don't want to get Nico Reed hurt or either, but he's got a kick return under his belt now. So, really exciting to, get a little bit out of him. There'll be pictures of him next year.
Definitely. Crazy thing, though, they have so many corners because they have Christian Gonzalez and Mekhi Blackman.
Yep.
I'm assuming Mekhi is back. I don't think he'd leave, but you never know. Nigel Bethel, who's playing out of his mind early in the season.
Yep.
That's when they were playing so much man, when they just had 3 guys locking him down. And then from there, you get to even before the season, 3 of the 6 corners on the depth chart were these true freshmen with Nico and Kalen Moore and Tyron Taylor, who's been playing a lot more safety recently. He's playing safety just because there's not enough room. And he's a decent football player. But, again, let's bring this up. Everybody hates on Karl Dorrell's recruiting.
That's one nice one. Nice piece.
Nico Reed, a .81 recruit. He's not playing like a .81 recruit.
What is a .81?
Like a low 3-star.
Okay, all right. Why can't we just do it on a normal scale?
Why do we do it at all?
Well, it's like doing power rankings.
I know.
Like you don't
because there's a 10-month off season.
Well, exactly. We need something to talk about, but I don't know why they can't just go on a scale of 1 to 100, 1 to 10.
That is the weird thing. Yeah, 1 to 100, because you never see anybody below a 77.
Right.
It's like 77 to 100. It's like boxing. It's all 9s and 10s.
Well, because they don't give out 2 stars, do they? It's just 3.
No.
Yeah.
So it's weird. But again, you've seen some good things. Also, shout out Kalen Moore. He was hurt, didn't play today. He played 139 snaps this season. Out of 39 defenders that played a snap for Colorado, he ranked 8th on Pro Football Focus. You don't put too much stock into all that, but you've seen some good things from these young guys. Nico Reed was 11th, by the way, and that's before today. So you imagine that go up.
Yeah.
Some flaws, whatever. That kick return was the highlight of the day by far. He's the king of the game. How much time we got here? Got 13 minutes for helmet stickers.
All right.
Who you got, Ryan?
Who else deserves a helmet sticker? I'm gonna drag this one helmet sticker out for 13 minutes. Let me give a helmet sticker to Carson Wells.
That's a good one.
Who I think was the best defensive player for the Buffs this year. Obviously, Nate would have had that title if he played more.
Yep.
Unfortunate that he didn't. But especially down this stretch, we saw the Carson Wells that we knew and loved.
Absolutely. And again, you look at the stats, I guess he was second on the team in tackles with 8, but no tackles for loss, nothing else registered there. But he was just making so many plays. He held his own. He did better than holding his own. He won his matchup in a game where you gave up 200-yard rushers.
And he had that amazing 4th down stop where he really covered 2 guys at the same time on the option. It's a really difficult place to be when they packed in the middle on that defensive stand. Now, you could say that maybe Rising could have made a play and pitched it out there, but Carson trapped him into doing what he wanted to by saying,
he turned his body.
Yeah, he's like, I'm covering the pitch. What are you going to do? And, of course, as soon as he tucks it, he makes the play and stops him. It wasn't a tackle for loss, but they needed 2. They got 1.
Yep, exactly. I'll go Devin Grant, outside linebacker on the other side. He's seen his work increase significantly his last few weeks with injuries to first Guy Thomas and then to Jamar Montgomery and Josh Gustav as well. He looks like a player. He's out there making plays, and there were some mistakes as well, but that's to be expected. 2 tackles for loss. There were some great plays out on the boundary, some good tackles out there, bringing guys down that, as a second-year freshman, you don't necessarily expect him to be able to make. I'm excited. Carson is moving on after this season.
Is that like 100%, or is that more of like a Mustafa-like situation where?
So that's the thing, is it could turn into that.
Okay.
If he goes, so you can always withdraw from the draft up until whatever point, and there's a chance that he decides to do that if people say like, no, we just got to see more tape. But I mean,
he's probably gone. I think.
Yeah.
Man, where do you see him going? I mean, is he day 3? Like, can he sneak up there with a good combine if he gets invited?
I mean, if he does well in the offseason, then yes. But he needs to do that.
I'm
he's
shocked by what he's listed at. He's listed at 6'4", 250. I do not think he's that big.
6'4" might be a stretch. But again, like, when I talk to him, I always feel like my eyes are looking at his beard. So 6'4", 6'3", maybe?
That's legit. That's legit size for where he's going to have to play in the NFL.
It is. And he's got to test well, too. But he's got good numbers. I mean, last year, second in the nation tackles for loss per game. This season, second in the Pac-12 in tackles for loss. He's got some things that you point at and say, wow, that's a good player. We just have to see how it shakes out. He's a tough evaluation. Yeah.
So you live in a world where he's not going to be here.
Yep.
Walking
into senior day, I think he told Brian that he was going. Like,
Devin Grant last week looked really in over his head.
Yes,
and this
he
week,
did.
He looked like he knew what he was doing, which is great to see. You just want to see those young guys look like athletes out there. You can deal with the coach them up later.
Yeah, I agree. Who else jumps out to you? Who else slowly walks out to you?
I don't
think
know,
anybody's
man.
jumping.
Mark Perry.
Yeah.
Had a couple plays, again, where you'd like to see a little bit more in terms of tackling technique.
Missed some tackles on some of those big runs.
On some of the big runs. It's not a fun place to be when you're the safety and the running back has gotten through all of everyone else, and it's down to just you
It's
left.
just you in space with a man charging at you.
So it's not an easy assignment. That's the one place where I asked for more of him, but he got so much better from a coverage standpoint from week 1 to whatever, week 12. Is that what this is? Week 13?
13, yeah.
He got a lot better from there. Obviously has the pick today, has a big pass breakup on a 3rd down.
Big hit the play before that, too.
Yep. So definitely proud of his progression over the year.
Yeah, and I mean, he's one who you just always looked at him and said, like, what are you going to do well? Like, what is going to be the reason you're on the field? Like, with Nate, it's because you just can't run in the middle of the field. With Jalen Sami, you clog everything up in there, and maybe you can sneak through. Carson's just going to dominate his edge. Christian Gonzalez can lock somebody. What is Mark Perry's thing? It's like he's fast, but that's not a football skill. Like, you need to find something. Right. And so seeing him make some of those hits, that's a good sign, because maybe he's a hitter. Maybe that's something to provide.
For that speed. So
he is.
That should result in big hits once in a while.
He started 2 interceptions in 3 games, all 3 career interceptions this season. Is he somebody who starts to find the ball? And so you're at least seeing a couple of these areas where you say, this is where Mark Perry could really excel and could really be an impact player. And again, I mean, he's going into, this will be his 4th year now. He had 1 year under Davion Taylor, where he's behind him. Then last year, this year, so he's going into his 4th season.
That's where you're like.
That's it. Yeah.
The hard thing about that is you're just hoping for a breakthrough.
Yep.
And if that breakthrough comes, he has every tool to be an awesome piece of the defense next
sure.
year. But everyone thinks that progression is linear for players, and it's just not true. There is a chance that that's who he is.
Yep.
Cross your fingers and hope that, hey, it all clicks for him as now he's a grown-ass man out there.
Exactly. And that's the thing. What is our one complaint today? Missed a few tackles.
Yep.
If he's able to get those guys on the ground, then all of a sudden he might be your best defensive player today. He would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was your helmet sticker. I was trying to decide whether to give it to him and then just pass it off to you. I'll give one to Dimitri Stanley. He showed up today. He made some plays. He'd been quiet for a while, mostly because he'd missed 3-4 games with injuries.
Who made any plays?
Brady Russell, yeah. I mean, everybody else was 1 catch for single digits. And going through that, I mean, let's just run through these because it's so quick to talk about who caught balls. 3 catches for 48 for Dimitri Stanley, 2 for 12 for Brady Russell, 1 for 9 for Daniel Arias, 1 for 6 for Alex Fontenot, 1 for 6 for Matt Lynch, 1 for 3 for Chris Carpenter. You're down Brendan Rice. Your Levante is out the door. You're down Montana Lamonius Craig, who is next up in front of Ty Robinson and Chase Penry. There's
Ty Robinson, was he out there today?
He was.
Yeah. Dimitri was the best out of those guys today, and you needed
As
that
he should
from
be.
him,
Yeah. Anybody else you want to give a shout out to? You can't give it to Cole Becker with a miss, too, right?
No, you
56
can't.
yards is good. Okay.
That 56-yarder was the most impressive 56-yarder I've seen from a CU kicker since Mason Crosby. Meaning, it just looked like 56 was a chip shot for him. Now, it had low trajectory, but he did not swing hard at that.
No, he did not.
It's like when you're on the tee box, right? And you're like, oh, I'm just going to try and get one out there, and it just hits the center of the face and just goes.
Yep.
That's how he was on that kick. Really impressive. If there's something to be excited about moving forward, like if you're making a list, you would put Cole Becker on the list.
Easily. Well, let's close this out by making that list. Next year, what are you most excited about? We're just looking for players' names. Is number 1 Brendan Rice or Christian Gonzalez?
I have to go elsewhere. I'm
Oh,
gonna
really?
say number 1 is JT Stroud.
Okay, I get it.
Crossing my fingers that's a guy, and I hate
Yep.
doing this because we've done it before where it's like you put all of your eggs in the transfer quarterback basket, and you always have to keep in mind, like, there's a reason he didn't play at that other place. Now, the other
Yep.
place was Tennessee. So
Yeah.
it's not like they're having issues recruiting quarterbacks. At least, they're going to get a decent recruit every year.
Yep.
So the fact that he didn't pop over whoever else they rolled with is not a huge concern. But I don't like doing this. A guy coming off an injury. For me, it's going to be what I'm saying a month before the season when he's inevitably named the starter. Like, that's our key. If he's actually legit, we can be legit.
Yep.
Then it's Brendan Rice.
That's Brendan Rice. I'm gonna go. I'm so torn. Christian Gonzalez is so good, but Brendan Rice. I mean, it's just flashier, right?
Yeah.
Like, you get the ball in his hands, he goes to work. Christian Gonzalez is quiet, but those two to me are easily at the top.
And that new the new offensive coordinator is
I'm
going to
hyped.
look at Brendan Rice and say, we got to get that guy the rock.
Can I put him at the top of the list?
Yeah. Offensive coordinator X. Top of the list.
We can end it on that note.
All right.
Thanks for jumping in with this, Ryan. Shout out to super producer Kale behind the scenes. Last post-game show of the football season.
Also, don't miss out on incredible Black Friday deals at DNVR Locker right now. If you see you probably can't behind my microphone, rocking the Crying Nebraska Kid. You can get that on sale. It's back in stock. Obviously, Nebraska blows a 15-point lead today and loses to Iowa, which is just chef's kiss.
Love it.
Best part of today from a college football standpoint.
Love it.
So get in. The Nate Landman shirt's on sale. Everything over there on sale at the DNVR Locker. So get in on that.
Awesome. And we will see you guys Sunday, post-game, after the first conference basketball game of the season.
Let's go.
Playing Stanford. Stanford sucks. This is going to be a wild one.
Hell yeah.
We'll see you guys then.